What's up, y'all? It's popping this D. About to react to this video by Black T Blog. This is Nicki Minaj Safaree's Bed of Lies, the full untold love story of how fame changed them both. Okay, shout out to Black T Blog. They put in all this effort to gather all this information, these interviews, all this evidence, about their relationship, and they're going to present it to us. So y'all go check out Black T Blog. But yeah, let's check out, this love story and how they were both changed. Let's watch.
I'm not nobody's ex. My name's Safaree.
Yes,
when you see
are.
me, my past life, that has nothing to do with me. I left it, it's in the past, and now I'm moving on.
Safaree. That's how we all know you, though. So what you talking about?
Hi babes, and welcome back to Black Tea. It's your girl Ebony, and you guys already know that your girl is back with the mess. Now Safaree and Nicki Minaj have actually been trending all over Twitter and social media for most of the morning. People are actually looking over clips which show Safaree performing with Nicki Minaj, and people are out here saying that Safaree was a very supportive boyfriend. I actually wanted to break down their relationship, talk about how it went so sour, and also talk about some of the things that Safaree did behind the scenes to try to hurt Nicki.
I heard he was cheating and buying strippers and prostitutes.
So people understand the full relationship between Safaree and Nicki and just how toxic it actually turned out to be. Now to give you guys a little bit of backstory, everything began back in 2002 when Nicki Minaj joined the rap group.
That dude on the far right, he looked like Ace from Paid in Full. Who are these people? The Hood what?
Hood Stars. Now there was a DJ and photographer that goes by Neil Grant, who actually came out and did an interview with the New York Post where he actually talks about the first time him and Nicki actually met. He says that Nicki Minaj showed up to his house. She was still working on her dialect and her presence, and this is where he first got a glimpse of who Nicki Minaj really was and what she could be as an artist. Now, after Neil Grant did hear Nicki Minaj, this is where he decided to actually pair up Nicki Minaj with Safaree, who went under the name SB, also Lou Star, and another rapper named SVN. Now, as we move forward into 2004, this is where we see that Nicki Minaj and Safaree actually become a couple. Now, this timeline is actually corroborated by one of the old group members, SVN. He actually did an interview with Vlad TV back in 2017 where he said that Safaree and Nicki started dating about 2 years into the group's existence.
At what point does Safaree and Nicki start to become romantic?
Maybe about 2 years in.
Oh, because quite a while.
Yeah, it was quite some time. Yeah.
Even though the group did not last, in 2005, this is where Nicki Minaj decided that she wanted to go solo. Not only did Hood start...
I'm gonna say it. But I spoke in a previous video about how I don't like really corny dudes who are like over the top and do too much either, and that's how Safaree appears. But it's funny that 2 years into knowing him, she finally was like, all right, fine. And that's exactly what happened with me when I have dated people who are like over the top and just loud and annoying. It's because they wore down on me over time, and it's like, okay, all right,
Are split up.
So it seems like that's what happened, but
Safaree
I could be
was
wrong.
Kicked out, but Nicki Minaj decided because her boyfriend was no longer in the group, she was gonna stick by Safaree and also leave the group as well. During this time, Nicki Minaj was really grinding. Not only was she doing a lot of shows, but she was also writing and also trying to perfect her craft so that she could be on that mainstream stage. During this time, Nicki Minaj did a lot of interviews where she discussed not having the money and also discussed the fact that Safaree didn't want to get a job, and his parents, such as mother and sister, would also call Nicki a lazy B-word, tell her that she would never be famous, and also allude to the fact that pushing her pen was the wrong direction.
If anything, he should just be thanking God that he now has an opportunity to make money and to make a way for himself. You wouldn't have had this opportunity had I not pushed my pen. He told me to stop trying to pursue rap. He told me that I was living in a fantasy world and it would never happen. Him, his mother, and his sister called me a lazy because I was pursuing my rap career.
But little did they know, in just 6 years and pushing herself into 2011, this is where Nicki Minaj got her break. And all of that pushing and hard work actually worked out. Now look, although a lot of people didn't know that Safaree and Nicki were dating because many thought that he was the assistant, this is actually what first sparked the relationship. If you guys don't know, back in 2011, Nicki and Safaree actually got into a very big fight in a Dallas hotel. In this time, Nicki Minaj had said that Safaree hit her in the face with a suitcase. Every headline was Nicki Minaj being hit in the face by her assistant. And this is because Nicki and Safaree were keeping their relationship out of the public eye. Both Safaree and Nicki believed that if they did this, it would be more healthier and also would not have people in their business. But it would turn out that this was probably a big mistake because it led to bitterness and also resentment. Now fast forwarding past this altercation in 2011, this is where Nicki Minaj actually starts speaking.
But I feel like that bitterness and resentment would have still been there even if they did come out, because he would have been hearing like, oh, you a bum, oh, she carrying you, she making all the money and you ain't doing shit. He would have felt that anyway. People would have been talking shit. He would have still felt less than because she was the star and making all the money.
Speaking out more, not only about her relationship with Safaree, but also why it was so important for her to not say anything. If you guys don't know, back in December of 2011, Nicki Minaj was spotted wearing a very big diamond ring, and a lot of people believe that her and Safaree were engaged. Nicki actually did an interview with GQ where she talked about the silence, and she said, look, my relationship with Safaree was only kept under wraps as a business decision. She said this, when I came into the business, you couldn't tell people you were in a relationship because record companies and management said that doesn't make you appealing to men.
True.
So don't tell people you're in a relationship. She goes on to say this, it's been a hard business relationship, but it had to be done for my career. Now a lot of the fans and also media outlets, when they saw Nicki Minaj wearing that diamond ring, really believed that she was engaged. However, that was not the case. Now as we move into March of 2014, this is the 10th year anniversary of Nicki and Safaree being together. They actually took a very nice relationship getaway, aka a vacation, to Cabo, where they decided to have a good time and also celebrate 10 years of being together. Not only was this a good vacation for Safaree and Nicki, but Nicki actually took to her Instagram to also talk about the relationship. And she says, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, hashtag year 10. Little did she know that just 4 months after this entire vacation, her and Safaree would actually spark breakup rumors. Now, if we fast forward to October of 2014, this is where all of the drama begins. Not only was Safaree seen out in public where he actually had all of his Nicki tattoos covered up, but there was also a report by TMZ that said him and Nicki were no longer a couple, and people speculated that it was because Safaree was uncontrollably jealous of Nicki Minaj's success. A mix. Now, if we fast forward into November of 2014, this is where Nicki Minaj releases the single Bed of Lies. Nicki Minaj actually debuts this song on an MTV awards show, and this is where she talks about a lot of things that went on in her relationship. She says this, everything you got was based off my contacts. You a fraud, but I'ma remain icon stat. Balenciaga's on my boots with the python strap. You was caught up in the rush, and you was caught up in the thrill of it. You was with me way before I hit $250,000 in it. Put you in the crib, and you ain't never pay a bill in it. I was feeling it. Now you got me popping pills in it. So as you guys see, she was basically alluding to the fact that Safaree was not only ungrateful, but he actually didn't have to pay any bills, and he was living off of Nicki Minaj pushing her pen. And for her, she felt like as she laid down with this man that she had been with for 10 years, even though he had been with her before everything, he still had the audacity to lie to her and then to also try to tarnish her reputation because he was no longer with her. And during this time, it was actually very, very emotional, not only for Nicki Minaj, but also Safaree. Nicki Minaj was going through an addiction at this time, and she talks about that in several articles. During this time, TMZ actually did an article where they explained that they spoke with people in Safaree's camp, and Safaree was basically telling people around him that Meek Mill was the reason that him and Nicki broke up. He said that Meek Mill went behind his back to Nicki to tell her that Safaree was cheating on her, which wasn't true in his opinion. He also said that Meek Mill was the reason that Nicki wasn't returning his calls and actually speaking to him about their relationship. During this time, people were worried for Safaree, not only because he said he didn't want to live anymore, but also because he could not seem to get over Nicki or their relationship. Now, while this is his experience, Nicki Minaj and Meek Mill both say that that's not how it went down. Nicki alludes to the fact that she did not cheat, and she also points out the fact that Safaree was the one who was cheating. Meek Mill also says the same thing, that Safaree was the one that was cheating. Now, after this TMZ article, this is where we saw the biggest Twitter feud between Safaree and Nicki Minaj actually erupt. Nicki Minaj actually let off a series of tweets accusing Safaree of not only blackmail, but also saying that he was threatening to release videos that were her and him, which were private. On top of that, Nicki Minaj also apologized to her fans after going through this entire Twitter feud with Safaree, which actually moves us into 2015, where Safaree started more drama and said what? That he was writing Nicki Minaj's music.
So, like, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, what's fair is fair. You can't do something and put it on that type of scale. I helped, and I have nothing to do with it. No, it doesn't work like that. So, I just gotta, go after what's mine,
So
like.
I feel like she's trying to X you out, like.
Oh, it was not no trying. I didn't get no writing credit on anything. So
now, for those of you who don't know, back in 2015, Safaree did do an interview with the Breakfast Club where he was actually pretty decent about the Nicki Minaj relationship. But what really got people talking is the fact that he said he wrote Nicki Minaj's music. This is what Safaree had to say. Every time it came to writing raps and doing music, it was her, me and the beat. She doesn't do it by herself. It's me and her. Now, Nicki Minaj did respond to this, and she said, look, that is not true.
I have seen Safaree in some instances say that he helped with writing. Then I've seen him say in some places he hasn't. This is like of recent. Like, from your words, how was he involved? Like, how was he involved?
I wish I could call the two guys that were in the group, and I didn't know you were going to talk about this.
Oh shit!
But I'll say this, and the reason why you've seen him backtracking and all that stuff is because it's not, and it was never the truth. And sometimes with me, a person knows that they can't really say anything to hurt me, but they know if they say that I will take it to heart. You've never. Let me tell you, Fendi would have been the first person. Fendi would have been the first person to tell you if I ever had any help with my writing. Because when we started the group, we all laughed at him, at Safaree, because he I'm not trying to be funny, he couldn't rap. So he did something because he knew that was the only way to hurt me. Because people know how big I am on that. I came into this game, I'm talking about brand new into being adamant, no man will ever write for me. And I've stood by that my whole career, okay?
Now, even though Safaree, in this same month of January 2015, said that he was writing raps for Nicki, he actually backtracked again in the same month. He actually changed his entire story. He was tweeting and said this: Nicki is way more capable of writing an album on her own without me. She's not a dumb person, so it's easy for smart people to come up with the witty and smart things that she says. I don't know about other people, but I know when it comes to writing flow and delivery, she is one of the best, if not the best. She has her style and I write. So stop saying I write her stuff. Not true. She sits with a pen and pad and does it herself. Now this actually caught a lot of people off guard because just a few weeks before this, Safaree was doing an entire interview saying that he was writing her music. And now he changed his tune, which actually left a lot of people in the general public confused. And people started to question, is Safaree really in love with Nicki, or is he, like every other bitter boyfriend, upset that he no longer has access? Now, Safaree actually didn't stop there. If we move into June of 2015, this is where Safaree actually releases his response track to Bed of Lies, and he releases Love the Most. Now, for those of you who don't know, Love the Most was actually a song in response again to Bed of Lies, where he talked about Nicki Minaj. This is what he had to say: 12 years up in flames. He also says that his relationship was ruined by somebody new.
I gotta read this. Yeah, I was back for a look up and like, all I did was put you down for it. It's my wife, really like my scene. I did really help some of these people. I care about your health. Yes, you do. I don't care about your fame. Yes, you do. I don't care about no faults. You didn't change. I ain't saying the best. I don't love you like I did. I just playing touch with my kid. You're 3 gun gay. I'm moving out of rage. I don't think I'm put it on the stage. I have to watch you kissing the pretend it's all. Oh, that's disrespectful. And so I was feel like a motherfucking fool. Yeah, you was. Life revolves around a bitch. Every man won't cheat. Oh, so you admitted to being a cheating ass nigga. Looking like that. So I was overreacting. You did like. So I was overreacting. You did like. What?
Ew. And in this track, he was actually referencing Meek Mill. Again, alluding to the fact that Meek Mill stole his girl. After this first response track, then Safaree made another song called Lifeline. In this song, he is actually attacking Meek Mill. He's also saying, again, that he wrote some of Nicki Minaj's lyrics on Woman's Revenge. Again, backtracking and going back, saying, look, I did write her music, even though a couple months before, he said that wasn't true. Safaree was going through denial, and I think that he had a hard time realizing that his behavior caused that breakup. And from him pushing somebody away, actually pushed Nicki into someone else. And now he did not have the access that he once had. And I could kind of see that that hurt him in a way, and also caused him to do a lot of things that may have been out of character from things we saw in the past. Now, after this second diss track, this is when Nicki Minaj actually got really upset. And she actually did a concert in Toronto where she called out Safaree.
Till this day, I never stopped. See, a best nigga can't write my raps. You know why? You don't have the heart or the mind frame or the intellect, nigga. Don't even know how to pronounce these words in my fucking record.
The sync is off.
After Nicki Minaj did this on the Toronto stage, this is where we saw in November of 2015 that there was a lawsuit. Now, this report of a lawsuit was out of character and weird. Safaree was basically planning to sue Nicki, and he was saying that he played a major role in much of her success. And as a result, he deserved a chunk of her money, especially from the first 3 albums. Now, as time goes on, Nicki really doesn't say anything until May of 2016, where she tweets out information to her fans, letting them know that she was served. Nicki said this: tweeted on the 5th that the 6th was my baby's B-day. Served with a lawsuit on the night. LOL. 2 years later, this poor excuse of a man is suing me and claiming to have been physically and emotionally. He's so miserable. Look at what men have become so that they don't have to work. Father, please stay in your sons' lives. You can't even celebrate your happiness. Miserable people refuse to move on with their life. Yikes. This is where Nicki first acknowledged that he was indeed suing her. Now, in true Safaree fashion, being up and then coming down, in October of the same year, this is where Safaree actually announced that he was going to be dropping the lawsuit. Now, Safaree did do an interview with Wrap Up where he said this: I dropped everything. I started to process.
You ain't had no case. Your lawyer was like, fuck out my office.
If you want to deal with it like that, go ahead. I ain't tripping. I'm doing a lot. I don't want to have to deal with depositions and courts and all of that. Ain't nobody threaten me. Ain't nobody make me do it. At the end of the day, I didn't even want to do it. I just want to know if it was me and the shoe was on the other foot, I'd handle it and just say peace out. Do what you gotta do, that's it. But I decided to drop it. Even though a lot of people thought that this was finally Safaree moving on from the relationship with Nicki, this is where we see in March of 2017 that Safaree and his toxic behavior is not done. Safaree actually went on the Wendy Williams show, and again, he decided to try to come back and say that he wrote raps for Nicki Minaj. This is what Safaree said on Wendy Williams.
He wouldn't be Nicki if it weren't for you helping her write her lyrics.
As far as that whole process goes, you know, it was a collaborative effort. It's not like
50-50?
It's not like she doesn't sit there and do absolutely nothing, but you know, I definitely, you know, was a helping force in everything that had to do with creative music, you know.
Now, after this happened, Nicki Minaj and Meek Mill were both very quiet, and nobody really responded to Safaree being on Wendy Williams, talking more mess, and again lying on Nicki. But in June of 2017, not even 3 months later, this is where we saw the fight. If you guys don't know, DJ Khaled was having a pre-BET awards party. During this time, Safaree was assaulted by someone who says they were a member of Meek Mill's crew. This is another thing that happened where Meek was in fact getting out of his SUV right as the incident happened. Meek doesn't admit to being involved, but didn't really deny it directly. I'm a Don, he says, I don't need to fight. Now this actually sparked a lot of controversy and a lot of memes of Safaree basically running away from men after he had been bashing Nicki for years. After this altercation, we did see the relationship between Nicki Minaj and Meek Mill kind of dissolve as well due to more toxic behavior and issues in the relationship, and Safaree kind of went quiet. But in August of 2018, where Nicki Minaj was doing her press run for her new album Queen, this is where we got a lot of more information. You guys know that Funk Flex had said a lot of things about Nicki, and because they were able to meet a common ground, this is where she opened up about Safaree. And she said, look, if anybody wants to know if I write my raps, all you have to do, ask the people I'm with. Ask Wayne, ask Birdman, ask Meek Mill. They will all tell you that I write my own music. On top of that, Nicki Minaj also dropped a bombshell that alluded to the fact that Safaree was out here scamming and also taking their credit cards. Chill, talk about a mess.
The world knowing that other big female MCs have gotten people to write for them, he knew by saying that it wouldn't be a stretch, and he knew by so many people he knew by so many people always wanting to tear me down in some way, and they just couldn't find something to, you know, tear me down with. He knew that was it, and that had the only reason he did that was because he was hurting inside, because he shit on me and finally got it on. And imagine that. Well, imagine that. And what I do is I write songs.
Be clear.
Okay? I write not only raps. And I write not only raps, but I write songs. When you listen to Chun Li, when you listen to Coco Chanel, when you listen to Good Form, these records are written entirely by me. These records are not even a chorus given to me. And then for one person to do something like this to me out of sheer weakness and passive aggression and just hatefulness and vindictiveness, because you got caught on a person that was taking care of you for years and years while you were paying for prostitutes and doing all types and stealing their credit cards and doing all types of
allegedly. Now after this interview, this is where we saw Safaree take to Twitter to deny the accusations that he was stealing money and credit cards from. On top of that, he tried to throw in the fact that Nicki Minaj was physically abusive, and a lot of people believe that, look, this relationship just sounds as toxic as everything has been over the years. Now, after Safaree responded, we didn't see Nicki Minaj say anything else about Safaree, and this is where Safaree actually moved on and decided to get into a relationship with Dream Doll. Then he moved on to Erica Mena, which now has subsequently left him getting a divorce and going back and forth with a child on the way. Now look, you guys, this was a very toxic relationship, but to be quite honest, these are the types of relationships that happen every day, and the sad part about it is this was lived in the public eye. But while everyone is celebrating the fact that Safaree was a good stuntman and also some type of addition to Nicki Minaj in her career, I think we also have to talk about what that took. What it took for Nicki Minaj to deal with all that drama, all the BS, all the blackmail just because she pushed her pen. And let's be clear, if Nicki Minaj did not push her pen, if she listened to his family, to him, I mean, would she really be the global superstar superstar that we see today. And to be quite honest, I feel like this is karma and why Safaree's relationships will never work out. So let me know what.
This was a cool little untold story. I didn't know a lot of these details at all. But I think Safaree was on some bullshit. But of course, you know, a failed relationship definitely takes two people. So let's not sit here and act like, oh, Safaree was the problem 100%, and oh, poor Nicki, she had to go through so much, and he was the issue. Like, obviously, you know, failed relationships, toxic relationships takes two toxic people. Let's be clear. But yeah, I definitely feel like he was bitter after the breakup. He went back and forth saying that he wrote for her, then saying he didn't. Like, which is it? Like, you're not making no sense at this point. But yeah, it was a bit odd, definitely, that he wasn't moving on. It was like years later after they broke up, and he still was speaking on her, still being toxic, still bitter, and it's like, just move on with your life. I'm glad he finally moved on, though, even though, you know, he moved on to other failed relationships, but, you know, at least he moved on, and he not speaking on her no more. It's best for toxic relationships to just die, and people go their separate ways and stop speaking on the other person. Like, why are you still mentioning them? Why? Move on with their life. What's wrong with you? So yeah, it is what it is. This was entertaining though. Y'all let me know what y'all thought. Let me know what other videos you want me to watch, and I'll see y'all in the next one.